Ambe Standly Chenwi, Cameroon's rising agropreneur. With a solid background in agriculture and rural production, he currently runs a startup called Highlands Farm, which grows assorted vegetables. Highland Farm is equally into poultry and pork farming. Through this initiative, he has groomed more than 1,000 young Cameroonians to venture into farming, and this move has attracted him 10 awards. Ambe Standly talks to the street. Stanley, you are a typical example of a Cameroonian success. Talk us through your journey to becoming a farmer and a successful one.
I grew up in the Royal area. I was born in Gokunja, but I hail in Bafut. While I'm living in Gokunja, my parents were farmers who cultivated maize and rice. Those are products of the cereal family. So from childhood, we started going to the farm, carrying maize and carrying rice. And then we later left to the village that is in Bafut, where my mother was engaged in cassava, ginger farming, to see us through school in Protect Bafut. Basically, through her inspiration as a farmer, it has always given me the urge to study agriculture, to improve livelihood, because most parents from Royal Cameroon, they do good peasant agriculture. So basically, I had seen that my parents struggling through our education with farming. It could only inspire me to see agriculture as a family business that I could innovate on it. So that is how I find a passion to do agriculture. Agriculture because from time to time, our parents could not provide for medical health care. They could not provide for savings. They could only sell during weekend market and provide for our livelihood. So agriculture became that necessity in the family, that we saw that no, we could do something, we could venture into it that will help us to generate family income.
You read auto mechanics in secondary and in high school, and one would have expected you to be maintaining or dealing in automobiles, yet you are today a farmer. How easy was it for you to switch, or how easy was that switch, and what was your motivation?
Well, basically it was all about passion. When I studied, as you know, as you have rightly said, I studied automobile mechanics in college and in secondary school. And basically, I had wanted to go to Bambili to do farm mechanization, that is tractor mechanic. But when I reached Bambili, with the passion I had in agriculture, there was never tractor mechanics there. So I decided now to do agriculture and royal production or management of farm enterprises. That is where I was able now to use my background in mechanics, because now it was a course, mechanization was a course that helped me to go through school. Because basically, most of other students who came from commercial backgrounds or from grammar educational background, they were very lost in some technical courses in school, because a course like royal construction, it has to do with the technical background. A course like royal electrification has to do with the course of a technical background. So it gave me an added advantage in my performance while at the regional college in agriculture. And that is how I helped in excelling in agriculture and farming.
Food self-sufficiency remains a major problem in the world today. In your view as an agropreneur and a farmer, what can be done in an immediate environment to tackle this perennial problem?
I think that in addressing the problem of food self-sufficiency in Cameroon, it has to do with policy. If you look at the Cameroonian agricultural ecosystem, we have 5 ecological regions. Cameroon has one of the best soils in sub-Saharan Africa, both within the CEMAC and the West African ecological region. But we discovered that our policies are not favorable for young people to practice agriculture. Why? I take an instance, the 1976 law land tenure law, it does not give young entrepreneurs the ability to own land. It means that any young person born after 1976 cannot own a 10 hectare of land. You can either own land through succession and inheritance, or maybe as a gift. So you must be born before 1976 before you can own land, and this will not enable young people to produce in hectares. Production become a limiting factor. Another problem, most of our young people are in the urban areas. If you look at most of the young people in Cameroon with the internet age who have a degree from a university, they want to stay in the urban areas where they can have access to internet, where they can have access to other 21st century generational facilities. But most of our production in Cameroon is done in the rural area, and you can't have these young people stay in the rural area to do this production. Another factor again, our system of funding agriculture in Cameroon is really a problem. A young person in Uganda can move to the bank and have access to a loan. A young person in Nigeria or Ghana can have access to credit, not talk about Rwanda. But in Cameroon, you have to write a project, send to the ministry in Yaoundé, wait for some time for them to call you, and then they give you loan. Another issue is the issues of our banks in Cameroon. Most microfinance institutions that are of the category 1, I talk of an example, I will give an example of Eco Bank, an example of NFC Bank, an example of the National Financial Credit, or an example of a UBA Bank. Those are banks that do not give loans to farmers or do not give credits to farmers. The only credits we have are second generational microfinance. I talk of the credit unions that are in every suburb. And their loan interest now is a problem because most of the farms now are not organized, and it is subsistence farming the practice. So with all these problems, which a policy must be one, it gives young people that will not to practice agriculture, and we don't first of all encourage it. We don't encourage agriculture in Cameroon, because if we were encouraging agriculture in Cameroon, you will see that most of the population in Cameroon is the active population, the youthful population in Cameroon. We constitute about 75%. But we don't practice agriculture. It means that most of the young people who read agriculture in the university, they want to get office jobs. They want to get white-collar jobs and stay in the office. It's very funny for me to see an agronomist from Vazat, from the University of Bamenda, from Korte, or from Boya, wanting a job in an office instead of being in a plantation in Ekona or in Chico. So it really becomes a problem. Those are some of the things that are limiting food sufficiency in our country.
One of the novelties that you are spearheading in farming today in Cameroon is the greenhouse farming. What's its uniqueness and what role has it in engaging domestic production in the country?
I will look at the greenhouse innovation as the 21st century innovation that has provided cutting edge. It means that you want to do precision farming. Precision farming will be word over time, and in producing with word over time, the farmer wants to minimize costs and maximize profit. It means that the farmer brings in an artificial climate using tents and using skeletons, which could be steel or wood, conserving a microclimate for production. This can be done by constructing a greenhouse using either the overhead irrigation system or the drip irrigation system. Having graduated from Agric School in Bambili in 2015, I gained the first employment with the Bamenda University of Science and Technology, where we started constructing local greenhouses. After working in the field for about 3 years, I had the opportunity to travel to Israel, where I did a 1-year course on advanced drip irrigation system. I am proud to say that among young Cameroonians, I'm a level 1 certified irrigation technician. from Israel.
When you say irrigation technician, precisely, what do you mean?
It means that I can carry out maintenance on irrigation systems. We are doing greenhouse today in Cameroon, which is an added value to our production system, because we want farmers to produce organically and to have sustainable vegetables in the market. Like for instance, in the greenhouse you produce all around the year, but in Cameroon you discover that since we have the dry season and the rainy season, that is the wet season and the dry season, most farmers produce basically most during the rainy season because they wait for rainfall.
So basically you're saying that greenhouse farming is able to enable farmers to produce all year round. Basically.
Yes, basically that's it.
Now, in Cameroon, there is much talk about second generation or industrial agriculture. Yet you find farmers every day tilling the soil with rudimentary tools like cutlasses and hoes. As a farmer, where have we failed as a country, and how can we walk the talk in encouraging second generation or industrial agriculture in this country?
We really failed when we don't have policy. I come back to policy. Policy because Cameroon has to draw up an agricultural policy. When we draw up an agricultural policy, we will say if we have five ecological regions, these are the agricultural practices that will be practiced in the grass field, because the grass field fall among one of the ecological regions in Cameroon. We will say that this is one of the agricultural practices that will be practiced in the coastal lowland and in the Sahelian climate that we have between the north. We will say that this is the agricultural policy that will be practiced. One thing again that has really hindered agricultural production, second generation agricultural production in Cameroon, like I said, was financing young people and the training. We need a mental shift to shift our training from theory to practicals. Another thing now is agro-pastoral activities for young people. We need to train entrepreneurs who are job creators. We need to look at those young people who have the passion, who have the zeal, who have the purpose in driving agricultural activities, and we support them. Government has not done that. There is a lot of money in this country in the agricultural sector, but you discover that most young people are not financed for research. Most of our research centers in Cameroon are dead. If we talk about the Icona Research Center, if we talk about the Bombari, if we talk about Bambui, if we talk about Manko, they still do not exist. Many young people, they want to go out abroad to look for greener pasture. But we have a lot of diversity in agriculture, be it in livestock, be it in crop production, that we young people can do a great job for ourselves. There is never a day in the world that people will never have lack food, will not need food. So we need a lot of young people, the active population, to engage in agricultural production to stop zero hunger.
Now, you are a farmer who has tested what it means farming and producing crops locally. If there was a recommendation that you want to make, a call out there on how we can move from this shift of rudimentary kind of farming into that industrial kind of farming, what specific recommendation will you be making?
Basically, I'll take a recommendation on farmhand agriculture. People say it's very expensive. If you construct a greenhouse, you can have maybe 1.2 million to have a greenhouse, but the break even, they speak for themselves. I cultivate cucumber maybe for 8 weeks and I harvest, but the farmer outdoor will cultivate for 3 months. So it gives you that prime objective that we need young people to engage in agriculture, and we need decisions that are flexible. We need policies that are flexible for young people. We need institutions that work for the young people. We don't need rigid institutions, because as of now in Cameroon, we have rigid institutions that don't think that these young people can strive. I take an example like Santa. Santa feeds Equatorial Guinea, Gabon, Central African Republic, Chad, and part of Nigeria. If you look at the farmers in Santa, they lack tractors. If you look at the farmers in Awing who cultivate Irish potatoes, Solanum tuberosus, they lack farm chemicals, they lack access to markets, they don't have good roads, and at the time they cultivate, those farmers, they pay a lot of loans, and using good tools, they spend a lot of money on medication and to even sponsor their kids in school, which becomes a lot of problem. So we think that government has to factor out and see into it that a lot of decisions are taken in building a solid policy for agriculture in Cameroon. It starts with policy.
Now, you are the Chief Executive Officer of Highlands Farm. Talk us through what Highlands Farm specifically is doing to encourage agriculture and especially rural production in Cameroon, which is a specialty that you hold so dear to your heart.
Well, basically, talking about my own enterprise, it's a startup, Highlands Farm. When I returned back from the country, I discovered that I needed my skills and my knowledge to benefit other young people and my community. And I decided that this is what I was going to do. Highlands Farm. Why Highlands Farm? Highlands Farm because it is situated in the highlands regions of Cameroon, that is from the Western Highland. And basically, we want it to be in Sabga. That is where the production of Highlands Farm, just because of the crisis that we've not yet started production. But as now, we're into pig production, we have pork fattening, the farm is in Dub. We're into greenhouse, we install for farmers and we have our own that we go there. And then we run a poultry and then also an animal feed store around Damoko.
Ambe Standly Chenwi, thank you for talking to the street.
I'm very, very grateful for this opportunity. I want to thank the street and to you, Akem, for inviting me to share my knowledge on farming. I'm so much grateful.